Everybody on Earth is afraid of something. The dark, clowns, women. But me, I'm afraid of all those things. But me, I'm afraid of something else. I'm afraid of falling off. Nothing terrifies me more than having a really good run. People are talking about me like I'm gonna be a generational talent. And then one day I wake up and I'm the Fine Bros. No disrespect to the Fine Bros. Can I have $20? It's not just people online who are worried about falling off. Anybody who outputs something that other people consume can, and eventually will, fall off. But sometimes that fall off is really sharp and drastic. Sometimes it happens in a few years. Sometimes it can happen in a month. And just like that, all that hype that got generated, all that clout you were getting, turns into crickets. A great example of this is Promised Neverland. Promised Neverland is a show that when I watched season 1, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a hit. And it was. The first season won hella awards and it was rated extremely highly. And people were talking really highly about it. When I watched it, I felt the same way. This show had a really cool vibe about it, using that cat and mouse style of storytelling that was popularized by shows like Death Note, while also firmly feeling like a completely original story. And then season 2 came out. This was ass. It was ass. I don't know what more I can use to tell you that season 2 of Promised Neverland might be the worst thing I've ever watched. I'm being so serious. I was mystified by this show's ability to completely scorch a 3-1 lead. I don't know one person who watched season 1 and was like, that's a bad show. Everybody I knew that watched it was so unbelievably hyped when season 2 got announced. And if you were someone like me who started reading a little bit of the manga, you knew all the cool shit that they were going to adapt, or should have adapted, because this season had nothing. There was literally nothing good in this entire season. The pacing? My videos are paced better. I make this shit in my bedroom. The story? We skipped like 50 chapters of content, and then in the show, to make it seem like they cared, they would just explain all that skipped content by just telling us it happened. The Promised Neverland is one of the biggest letdowns I've ever seen. The second season of that show was so bad, I genuinely tried to gaslight myself into believing that the second season did not happen. My friends would message me hella distraught over the episodes, and I'd just be like, what episodes? I have no idea what you're talking about. Who are you? There was nothing about that second season that I can say was good, but at least I watched it, unlike Ninja Kamui. Adult Swim has a history of doing these stupid little anime that when you see the trailer for them, you're like, oh, this might be cool, and then you start watching it and you learn, this is not that cool. Ninja Kamui is one of those shows that you get to episode 3 and you're thinking, okay, we're done, right? But you're not. And then they just do the same thing over and over again for the next 10 episodes. Shows like Ninja Kamui are different from Promised Neverland. Where Promised Neverland fell off because it was terrible, Ninja Kamui fell off because it's just there. It has nothing to offer. It's like the friend you don't even like, he's just around all the time. This show just kind of existed. I don't even know if it was bad or not. It just had nothing. I can't even tell you the main character's name. I call him John Ninja or Mr. Kamui. I really don't know his name. Ninja Kamui offered nothing. It did nothing. It didn't experiment. It just existed. I don't know. I don't even know if I liked or disliked the show because nothing about it remains in my mind. But it's better for a show to be like Ninja Kamui than to be like the show I am going to talk about right now. 7 Deadly Sins is the anime equivalent of Satan on Earth. This is a show that is putrid. It is vile. 1 out of every 2 characters is a pedophile.
You got your mans on sex assault charges.
And more than that. Well, maybe not more than that, but next to that, this show is horrible. Disgusting animation. Horrible pacing. Convoluted storytelling. 90 spin-offs and movies because they knew the main show was ass. Like, genuinely. I think 7 Deadly Sins should be reserved as an interrogation tool.
That's not important. What's important is who you are. What's
Fuck
your name?
you.
Okay, watch this episode of 7 Deadly Sins.
Seriously, I tried watching this show in preparation for this video, and I couldn't do it. Watching this show was not good. It was not fun. And it's weird, because I remember watching season 1 when it first dropped, and I don't remember it being this bad. 7 Deadly Sins is what I mean when I talk about animes that fall off. this was actually not a terrible show in season 1. The animation was good, it had good moments, interesting characters, and then it just kept getting worse and worse. The animation kept taking dips, the story kept getting more convoluted, seemingly every main character was Jared from Subway. 7 Deadly Sins is the final stage of Ninja Kamui in Promised Neverland. It is a show that was actually pretty good in the beginning, and then it just started getting worse and worse and worse until it became unwatchable. The way I tried to cast Infinite Tsukiyomi on myself to forget Promised Neverland is the same way people act with 7 Deadly Sins. Nobody acts like that with Ninja Kamui though, cause nobody remembers that shit. Shows like Ninja Kamui, Promised Neverland, and 7 Deadly Sins all fell off because of reasons having to do with their quality. However, it is possible to have an amazing show that falls off not because of quality, but because of delays. And the best example of this is Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan, quite literally, from a pure quality perspective, is probably top 10 animes of all time, easily. It is an amazing show with amazing themes and moral lessons and fights. Oh my god, very good fights. But there is a glaring issue that encompasses the whole show. They took too fucking long to do shit. Let me break this down for you real quick. I watched the first season of Attack on Titan when it was freshly done. It just aired on television. I was in elementary school at the time. Attack on Titan did not finish until I was already halfway through college. The wait from season 1 to season 2 was almost 4 years. I went from playing wall ball with my friends to choking out my homie when the Huz asked who's stronger in those 4 years. I had different priorities in those 4 years. And you know what? I waited. It's fine. It was a long time, but I waited. And you know what I was rewarded with? Season 2 of Attack on Titan. Season 2 was a masterpiece. Nobody can take that away. But years go by, and season 4 comes around, and it's amazing. And then I learned, you know what? We're not going to give you season 4. We're going to give you season 4 part 1, part 2, and then part 2 came around 2 years later, by the way. And then they're like, you guys are never gonna believe this. We actually have a third part. And here's the kicker. We're splitting that third part into 2 pieces. I am not ashamed or bothered to disclose that when I learned that season 4 part 2 was not going to be the end of the show, I stopped caring. Seriously, I didn't care anymore. I had devoted so much time to this show. Literal real life years I spent waiting for this show to conclude, and then every time it would pick up again, they'd just be like, hey, see you in a couple years, champ. And when the actual final parts of the Attack on Titan anime dropped, it took me 5 or 6 months to get around to watching it. The Attack on Titan anime fell off not because of quality, because it's an amazing show, but it fell off because they kept moving the goalposts. You know why I love One Piece so much despite all of its flaws? Not only is it a wildly better show than Attack on Titan, but when they take a hiatus, they actually come back. Like just recently, they finished a 6-month hiatus and came back with the Kuma episodes, which genuinely might be the best episodes of One Piece I've ever seen. There are a lot of reasons why anime fall off. There are a bunch of shows that look amazing, and sometimes they are, but for one reason or another, they just go from up here to all the way down here. But honestly, the biggest takeaway from this whole thing is that One Piece is the greatest show to ever exist.
My money strong, that shit weak. Living kinda diamonds on a beach. Yeah, girl, put a bummy, she's a creep, she wanna eat me. Money coming in, she got easy. No, I can't decide with the first or the boot up. I with the guys, bitch, I just chill with boot up.